I finished Steelrising this morning, and it turns out that when you beat the game, you can't hold your save game to be able to actually, like explore the world anymore. So I had to go into New Game Plus to do this review. So this is the tutorial area of the game where it teaches you how it works and the fact that it's a Souls game and all that. Very kindly, the first enemy doesn't really attack you that much to let you get to grips with the controls. On New Game Plus, maybe it looks different. But yeah, it's a Souls game. You press circle to dodge. You have like a tiny amount of invincibility frames, but it's mostly about just avoiding attacks, like dodging in the right direction. Because if you dodge into the attack like that, you'll get hit. You want to dodge away. You want to dodge through attacks like that. I've got a weapon that I can hit L2, set on fire, and it will set my enemies on fire, and then they burn. That's pretty much what I did for the entire game. Was I set my weapon on fire, and I burned enemies, and then they died. It's pretty good. Like, the actual combat loop is pretty fun. There's a fair bit of flexibility and customization available. Like, you get all these different kinds of perks that you can put on that give you a variety of different benefits. There is a wide variety of weapons to equip and use, which have different abilities. Like, I'm pretty much just carrying this because I sold all the others to seem like the best weapon in the game. But there's weapons that give you stuff like counter-attacks or shields to be able to block enemy attacks instead of taking damage and range your endurance instead. There's a very cool thing with the endurance meter, which I'll have to try and whittle my health when endurance down, burst the trigger, but after you've hit the bottom of it, you can hit triangle to rapidly cool. But the problem with that is if you do it quickly in succession, you end up freezing yourself, which is another status effect you can do on your enemies. So it's kind of fun, you know. So the combat stuff is good. The customization is good. Like you can customize your character in a lot of different ways. Oh, apparently there's a higher level cap for these abilities in New Game Plus as well. Neat. They were at level 20 was the maximum for stuff like improving your armor and improving your power to be able to do a ridiculous amount of damage. It's quite easy for a Souls game. After losing to the very first mini-boss and the first real boss a couple of times, I don't think I died to any other boss fight in the game. I didn't remember having to do any runs to repeat and retry those bosses. No, I didn't. It was very easy. I die occasionally just to, like, ambushes in the open world or fighting new enemy types who I didn't know their moves, that kind of stuff. But yeah, any bosses, I'd pretty much set them on fire and then I'd hit them a few times and they'd fall over. Yeah, it was very overpowered. Very overpowered. So, the story's pretty okay. Like, there's a lot of French names in there from people from the Revolution who you may know if you know history stuff. I didn't, so I didn't really get most of that stuff. But it's easy enough to follow along with what they tell you. The whole plot of the Clockwork Uprising is pretty well done and well told. Some of the twists are pretty obvious from early on, but that's okay. You know, it's not expected for a game like this to have the best story in the world, but what's there is pretty good. My complaints come from quality control. There are some bugs in the game that were incredibly frustrating to experience. With the ability that I have, where I press L2 and I set my chain on fire and then I hit things with it to set them on fire, for most of the game, whenever I loaded into the game, or if I died and respawned at a checkpoint, or I changed area and went to a different zone, that ability would not work. I'd hit L2, I'd hit things with my chain, and they would not get set on fire. I'm gonna clip in a little bit here from Share Factory of when I recorded it not working earlier, just to prove I'm not talking nonsense. Why is this not setting on fire? So now I've done that. Yeah, stuff like that was annoying because it was tied to the modules I had equipped, because I had modules on that gave me extra damage for fire, but I had to take it off and put it back on again in every single zone to reset the ability for it to actually work, which was frustrating. Annoying, and just tedious more than anything else. The game has a journal, which tells you about side quests, like for instance, you know, in memory of the Dauphin, trying to figure out what happened to the Queen's son, yada yada yada. And the world map will show you what you have to do for the side quests. Sometimes it's just wrong, or it lies to you and tells you about things too early. Like, there was a mission I had where I had to go to a townhouse, and it's behind a locked gate. It's fine, cool. We'll get past that once we have a key. So, I travelled to the zone to discover the locked gate, discovered I couldn't get past it. It's like, alright, that's fine, I'm sure we'll get away past that eventually. Got the ability to get past that gate, went back to the zone the side quest was in, got past the gate, and then there's another locked gate that requires another Metroidvania power to get past, with you know, something you can only open when you can break down walls. And I was like, I've went to like 4 loading screens now to try and discover that this side quest is still not completable, despite the fact that the game is telling me that I can go this way to do the side quest. And that sort of thing is just frustrating. Similarly, there was a side quest tied to this one I have at the start of the game for the Dauphin, where you have to try and decode some notes you find that are written down by a doctor. And you have to take them to a place where a guy is who can read them and translate them for you. And the game's like, yeah, go to Luxembourg, guy's there, you can talk to him, he'll translate the notes for you. And you go there, and he isn't there. It's just an empty space, just a gap in the world where he isn't there. Because you have to do other main quests first to get him to arrive there. You know, they're minor complaints, but they really impacted the feel of the game. The only other thing I have to complain about is that there's large chunks of the game are just very empty. Like, for being a Souls-like game, there's areas where you'll kind of go into a zone, like, this could be a side area where, you know, there's just a doorway to go through, and you'll go into it, and there's no enemies. And there's like a single item tucked away in a corner, and there's like 3 rooms this size, and it just feels like you're just walking through empty rooms a lot. Which is a shame, because like the combat is fun, exploring is well rewarded because you get a variety of different upgrades and abilities and materials and things for making your character stronger. But then the challenge isn't really there because of the fact that, you know, you don't really need anything. Like, I've got 195 health items that give me health regen over 20 seconds, and there's a trophy for beating the whole game without using the Estus flask you get. Honestly, wouldn't be that hard to do. You could probably, if I'd known how easy the game was, I probably could have got it on my first run through, because I didn't really need that at all to do most of the game. So yeah, Steelrising. I paid 12 quid for it. I had fun with it. I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the combat, and I enjoyed seeing the cool enemy designs, because they've got some pretty cool boss fights in here. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to play it again. And with a bit more polish, with a bit more testing, with a bit more, you know, stuff like the side quest design, this game would be up there with the Neos. Like, that's how fun the combat is. But yeah, they just haven't got the budget for it yet. Thanks for watching.